it's funny because people don't understand that that's exactly where a lot of your results are coming from, is when you're recovering, is when you're sleeping, and when you're actually getting good REM deep sleep and into those cycles. I might play footsie at some point in this podcast.
Dude, Hunter and I were playing footsie.
So if you sense any comfortableism, if that's even a word, it's because of that.
If you notice that we're looking like we're having a really good time, that's why. Anyway, that being said, guys, Andrew with the Pride Fitness and Movement podcast, and today we have got Anish.
Yeah, buddy.
We've been training at Stimulus together for 2 years? Because I was here before you.
Yeah. So for sure.
Where were you training at before this?
So before this, I was actually on a little bit of a hiatus from training itself. But before this, I was running a gym called Results Transformation in Sparks, Nevada. And so I was doing a lot of, not so much training, but more so having a group of trainers, having a group of staff, leading. But even from that, I was doing some group training fitness, some small classes, as well as some personal training. And but yeah, a lot of that stuff definitely ventured out from there. And then from that, we got in some entrepreneurship stuff. And then when I came to Stimulus, I actually did not come here to be a personal trainer when I first joined. I just came here to start a new gym up, to get into a little bit more of this scene of weightlifting and just kind of enjoying and continuing that passion. And I talked to Jeff, I talked to Jason, the owners here, and they gave me the green light to, if I ever want to train clients here, that I very well can, and it just kind of grew from there. So it was a really exciting step for me, because I got to do and continue to do what I love on the side, as well as taking care of the career path of entrepreneurship and running a business.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like a lot of people don't realize how common the training on the side thing is too. Yeah. Like, it's almost without fail, that's how people start. Yeah. Like, training is most people don't make it training full-time ever, but almost everybody has to start out part-time, and then it's you kind of have that give and take with the day job and making this happen, and at some point in time, you either end up making way more as a trainer that you're just fuck yeah, let's go, or it kind of stays as the side thing. And funny enough, I feel like people who have it as their side thing, it almost ends up being a more passionate thing, because it's something that it's the fun job for them.
Absolutely. Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, I think a lot of people put in a good amount of time and effort into their passions, but what really sets people apart from the rest, the good trainers from part of the rest that actually turn this into a business, is they understand it's exactly that, it's a business, and but the minute that you lose the passion, that you lose the fun aspect of it, that's when it starts becoming a job. That's when you don't actually, you don't see results, your clients don't see results, because again, you're walking in here thinking, oh man, I got another 2 clients today, 3 clients today, I just want to get home, rather than that. If you come into it as, okay, I don't need this, but I want this, that's where lives start beginning to fall in, and you start seeing great results, not even just with your clients, but with yourself. Yeah,
dude, the burnout's real too.
Oh yeah.
It's, I've been doing this for almost 10 years at this point. Maybe it has been 10 years. I don't know anymore. But the other thing too is burnout will hit you in phases where you'll be super not into it, and then you kind of come back and you're oh fuck, I love this. This is so sick. And it's you were saying, almost always the thing that kind of tips that balance is you or your clients are or are not progressing. Because it's, when you're coming in the same time telling people the same shit that they're not doing, it's it's hard to stay in that mindset of I'm helping people, or I'm having a positive impact here. And it's sometimes that really does come down to the client too, which is tough, because there's only so much that you can really do.
Absolutely.
To get people moving the needle and stuff.
Yeah, I think it becomes a big mental game, and that's where the challenge is for a lot of people. It's easy to train someone that's been doing it for a while, right? Oh, yeah. Those are the easy clients. Yeah. Those are the ones that you're okay, this is butter, right? I'm just going to make some small tinkers and phases, and they're just going to hit the ground running. Yep. But the real challenge for people is, or for trainers more so, is getting those clients that don't want to do this, that this is their last resort. They're here because, their doctor said that if you don't do something, you're going to be on this medication for the rest of your life.
And even then, dude, some of those people still just don't do shit, which is crazy. Like, I've told this story before, but I have a client who, or had a client at one point who, he's pre-diabetic. One of his family members had gotten, digits removed and stuff because of being diabetic.
Yeah.
And he's, 20, 30 pounds away from being in a wheelchair, at least, minimum, using a fucking walker because he weighs so much.
Yeah.
And he was just not really interested. It's one of the things that I feel like people always have when they're not really motivated is they do this thing where I've just called it negotiating with success, where it's like, okay, so what do I need to do so I can still eat, this, or so I can still do this on the weekend. Absolutely. And it ends up, it's called Drunkorexia. I don't know if that's the literal term or just what people have called it, but it's where you starve yourself the day before you're going to go out and party.
Of course.
So the alcohol calories don't matter quite as much. And it's like, fuck, dude,
it's called balance. People.
Yeah. it's like the worst, that is the worst form of balance, but it still is. And it's crazy, man. There's some people, they will change almost anything except things that will have a permanent effect.
Yeah, because everyone is out for instant gratification, aren't they? What's the thing that is going to take me the least amount of time to achieve? But what they don't understand is, even though that it takes the least amount of time to achieve that, the actual effects of it isn't going to stay.
Yeah.
If crash dieting was the answer, we wouldn't be here right now. You and I wouldn't be sitting in this podcast right now. And so that's just it's kind of like what you said, it's that self-negotiation of I don't need to do 10 minutes of my cardio. I only need to do, let me get 5 done, and then, maybe I'll do 5 tomorrow.
Maybe I'll do it every other day.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
I'll do it once a week. Yeah.
So
the funniest thing that I've found is people where they will eat the exact same diet, but they have veggies with it as well now, and it's like, look, your calorie intake just went up.
Yeah.
It's great that you're eating veggies now, but you're now eating even more food. It's if you eat 500 calories of fucking bullshit, and you add 100 calories of veggies on top of it, you're now eating 600 calories. Your intake didn't go down. You are not going to lose weight. You are arguably going to gain a little bit. And but again, it's that refusal to give something up, because that means making a change. And it's understandable why it's hard to make change. We've all been there. It's still, I'm sure it happens to both. Do you have a time in your mind that you're ooh, I remember I had to do this and I kept resisting and trying to work around it and trying to find a way to not quite do it?
So it's funny because before I actually ran that gym, I was actually one of their very first, what they like to call challengers, And so the way this program worked is, you got to do this diet program, and the workouts were in there, and you would pay a lump sum of money, and if you would do everything that they wanted you to do, right, basically follow nutrition and do the workouts, they'll give you that money back. So it was kind of more of an accountability factor. But considering that it was the very first challenge, the first couple of weeks, I was so negative about it.
Yeah.
I was so against it, because I was no, there's other ways of doing this, and there's better ways of doing this, and this is not the way. And, and ultimately, I was, in their definition, successful. But for the most part, I remember that time that I was just not, I was against it at all times, just because, I was thinking that there's better science out there. And ultimately, there's so many ways to do this stuff called fitness. There's so many different ways to achieve the goals that people are wanting to achieve, man. But getting over that hump and that hurdle of, okay, I have to be in some sort of calorie deficit to achieve my weight loss or body fat loss or whatever it is. It all just sums down to that. And I think people overcomplicate that so much because they hear so much bro science out there, man.
So much conflicting crap out there, man.
Yeah.
Well, you said by their definition, you were successful. What was it about that you didn't feel? How much weight did you end up losing through that, by the way?
I lost about 42 pounds.
So what was it about that you felt like they considered it a success, but it sounds like you didn't quite consider it that? Why is that?
I mean, for me personally, I think there was just a lot of focus on the scale, you know, and that's kind of like the aspects of what I like to talk to my own clients with, is that, like, you know, the scale is just one metric to look at. You know, there's just so many different things that we should be paying attention to. And they did a good job of trying to focus on, you know, non-scale victories, right? How are you feeling? What's your energy level like? But for me, it just became a little bit more of an extreme, you know, and people care about their money, right? So if you're going to tell me that you're going to provide me everything, and I'm going to provide you with this lump sum of money, and then you're going to give it back to me, I'm going to do everything in my power to get that back, because guess what? People care about their money.
Yeah.
But for me, ultimately, at the end of that challenge, I understood that, like, this is more than about the money. So, you know, there were definitely some great benefits of me doing that. But I thought in the end of it, the longevity of it, you know, a lot of these people were gaining a lot back. You know, they were gaining their weight back because it was too much of an extreme.
It's just not sustainable.
Not sustainable. And, you know, when I saw that, then, you know, I kind of went into a little bit of a different direction of, all right, how do we slow this down? How do we make this more, like you said earlier, how do we make this long term? You know, how do we not just go out for that instant gratification, that short term success? How do we make sure that we're not going backwards? And I think that's where a lot of people have to understand that there's no magic pill out there, right? There's no fat burner that can just take care of everything.
Right. So you're having these thoughts like while you're going through the program, or when you started working for them?
Both, actually. You know, while I was going through it, you know, I was losing the weight, I was getting skinnier, but, you know, for me, it was like, I still didn't feel comfortable. You know, I didn't feel comfortable. When I started with this program, I was 283 pounds.
Man.
I was a big boy. I was,
you got any pictures of that time?
I do have a pictures.
Glenn, timestamp this. I want to toss these pictures up. Yeah. Send this picture over to me, but let me see it real quick.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, when I joined this program, I was getting out of the phase of being a local DJ here. I was DJing, and it wasn't just like a weekend thing for me, or a hobby. You know, DJing became something that I was doing Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, you know, like
just like different clubs or what?
Different clubs, different bars, different venues, different, you know, I was doing, you know, weddings, quinceañeras, you know, you name it, I was doing it. And, you know, so for me personally, I knew that was deteriorating my life.
Dude, this is wild. That doesn't even look like you. Like, just the way your face changed, it doesn't even look like you. That's crazy.
Yeah, a little bit more facial hair now.
For sure.
But, you know, when I
just bumped that.
And when I understood that was kind of, definitely. You know, and I understood that was deteriorating my life. That's when I was like, all right, I got to make a change. I got to do something.
So what was it actually about the nightlife specifically that you noticed there was? I mean, obviously it's like not conducive to like losing weight for like a ton of different reasons, but like, was there something specific that you noticed, like, okay, me staying up until, 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it may be, every single day just isn't working? Like, was there something specific that you noticed about it?
You know, I think the biggest thing that became my downfall with doing that to my body was my sleep. I think my sleep is still never recovered from all that, just because you're getting home, or you're getting out of the club 3, 4 a.m. and then after that you're like, all right, let's go eat steak and eggs.
Yeah, and what's open right now? Casinos and fucking Mexican places.
And then Denny's, Yep. I used to watch the sun come up like every Sunday night or Sunday morning at Denny's, because I was getting out of a freaking club or around like 3 a.m. and
oh my god.
And then you tear down all your equipment, and now it's 4 a.m. and you're like, all right, man, I gotta eat. So at that time, I knew that this was, the money was nice, but for me, it was destroying my life.
Yeah.
And, that's where I was like, okay, I'm not sleeping. I'm forgetting things. My short-term memory loss was taking an effect. There were certain aspects of my life, events of my life that I couldn't even memorize. I couldn't even memorize people's faces or names, because again, this was just taking life out of me, because I was doing it for 5-6 nights a week. And, that's where I kind of understood that money is not everything, right? And I have to do something different for myself.
There's this, like, people place such a big emphasis on the time in the gym without realizing everything that they've got going on outside of it. So like almost without fail, the hardest clients that I've ever had are people in the medical field, specifically night nurses or people who are working swing shift, because it's like they're up, in the freaking middle of the night. They're in a really high stress environment. They obviously can meal prep and stuff like that, but when you're working, 12 plus hour shifts, I mean, what are you going to do? Like prep 2 to 3 meals every single day for your entire week and get them all there? It just realistically isn't going to happen for most people.
No.
And what ended up happening with a lot of those clients was, it seemed like no matter how they were eating, no matter how they were training, no matter what they were, drinking, like just only drinking water or, a lot of other shit, it almost didn't matter, because it's like their sleep was so fucked up. Their like environment was so fucked up. Their stress was so high. It's like so much shit didn't even end up mattering. I mean, if you're going to the gym 3 hours a week, that's like, for your entire month, like a fraction of a percent probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just crazy how much, like, outside of the gym matters way more, man.
It does. Yeah. It absolutely does, and we have to understand that, like, half of our days has to go into, our recovery phase, but a lot of people don't even put emphasis on that.
Yeah.
The amount of sleep that we lose on a daily basis, I don't think people understand what that really does to your body.
Yep.
You can come to the gym 7 times a week, man, but and eat all the chicken and rice and whatever else that you want to, but it's funny because people don't understand that that's exactly where a lot of your results are coming from, is when you're recovering, is when you're sleeping, and when you're actually getting good REM deep sleep into those cycles. And over the years, I've kind of taken an emphasis on how to improve those qualities, because it's just so important. It really dictates people's lives. That's why people hate Mondays, right?
Because suddenly the sleep's disrupted.
Yeah, they go out Friday, maybe Saturday nights, and they're trying to recover Sunday, and then they start with Monday. But it's just an endless cycle.
Yeah,
that people don't understand, and that's what really dictates how your life quality is.
Yeah.
Is what are you doing at home? Outside the gym, outside of work. Are you taking care of the things that you need to be taken care of? So
I mean, on top of that too, like I don't remember the exact number, but Glenn, go ahead and timestamp me here. There's a study done where they were, if I remember right, they were controlling people's weight loss, or excuse me, they were controlling people's calorie deficit. They were controlling people's training, and then they were intentionally making part of the group sleep less than the other half. And the ones who were not sleeping like a full 8 hours, and I'll link this because I'm probably messing up a couple of the numbers, but I mean, it was like the majority of the weight that they end up losing was lean mass.
Yep.
So it's like, just by not sleeping enough, you fucking kill your gains. You slow your metabolism down. You decrease your total like lean mass that you end up having on your body. And it's like, if you're decreasing your metabolism by training, this comes back to the long term, you're not going to maintain that. If your metabolism is slower and you're always eating at a deficit or always doing cardio or whatever it may be, you're not going to be able to keep up that output, and you end up getting that shit back. And it sounds like that's kind of what you started noticing with, that first gym, was that there were just things that weren't sustainable. What was it exactly that they were doing there that you were like, I don't think this is like sustainable long term for people to keep this weight off? What was it about that program?
I think majority of it was kind of like going into those extreme calorie deficits, and kind of not necessarily universal, but it was almost like one size fits all. You and I can both weigh the same, but there's no way that you and I can should be eating the same. People need to understand that there's so many different ways to understand a person's metabolic rate, where they're at. Sleep quality, hormonal, hormones come into factors. So what I understood about that program was that yes, it's a calorie deficit, but it's kind of like what you said. If a person is losing sleep from that program, or if they're not, feeling the way they should be feeling from eating healthier, right? There's something wrong there, right?
Yeah.
And you and I might lose the same amount of weight being in the same deficit. However, just like you said, if those other factors aren't being contributed and taken care of, you're going to lose gains. I might lose more gains than you because, that deficit was perfect for you based upon your metabolic rate, and your sleep quality is good, and you're taking care of the things that you need to be taking care of at home. Versus me, I may be in the same deficit, but if I'm getting even just an hour less of sleep than you a week, that's 7 hours a week that I'm getting less of. Of course, scale might go down the same amount, but I guarantee you,
your recovery is trashed.
Yep, your recovery is trash.
Yeah. Dude, it's fucking crazy. That was there was, I can't remember. It was either, I think the book was called Why We Sleep, and I read it a while back. And I remember going overhaul on recovery at that point. I was like, oh my God, I'm not sleeping enough. And I was trying to sleep 9 to 10 hours a day. And I was like, there's definitely a point of diminishing returns for sure. Because when I was sleeping 9 to 10 hours, my gains were no better than when I was sleeping 8. But it's it's just so crazy. The more science that seems to come out when it comes to, building muscle, losing weight, or just health and fitness in general, we keep noticing more than anything, it still depends on the individual.
Absolutely.
The science is only as correct as the person that it's based on. We can still come back to, no matter what, if you eat at an extreme deficit, you're going to lose weight.
Yep.
People always point to fasting and keto and all these different diets. I'm oh my God, this is the diet that made me lose weight. And it's no, you were eating at a calorie deficit. Mm-hmm. That diet worked for you because it was more enjoyable for you.
Absolutely.
Someone might lose weight doing keto or carnivore or fasting or whatever it may be, and they'll be like, oh my God, this was the secret. And it's no, you're just able to do that diet longer. So I could do keto for the rest of my life and feel totally fine. I could do paleo for the rest of my life and be totally fine.
Absolutely.
I couldn't do carnivore personally. I did it for a week and it was rough, but it's people have to find the diet and the program that works for them and that they don't have an issue with. Because when I eat paleo, I don't have moments where I'm God, I want to get off this fucking diet.
Yeah.
But I can lose weight or gain weight doing it just based on my intake,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what people need to understand, that fad diets aren't the reason why you lose weight, right?
It's because they're way fucking less food.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, the science says if you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight.
Yeah.
Right? And if what you said, the one that is going to be the best for you is the one that's going to be the most sustainable, the one that you most enjoy.
What have you personally found the most success with? When it comes to your body, not necessarily your clients, but what has worked for you in the past?
For me, being
aside from the extreme deficit at that one gym.
I've tried a lot of different diets. I've tried keto, I've tried paleo, I've tried plant-based.
Really?
I've been a vegetarian. Now I'm a horrible Indian because of it. But for me personally, I think the way that I like to go about my diets is, I like to take my years into phases. I spend phases increasing my metabolic rate and increasing my calories. And at the end of the day, guys, you have to remember that you're going to put on a little bit of body fat because of that, but you're going to feel so much better. So for me, the best diet for me is just increasing calories with the foods that I enjoy. I'm a guy that I eat like a dog sometimes, man. I do not get bored of my oats in the morning. Do not get bored of my eggs in the morning, or eggs in the morning. I don't get bored of the chickens, the rices, and things like that. For me, the thing that I like to do with my body is just I like to just basically challenge that in a way that I try to just increase my calories throughout the year, and then go into slow cuts and go into different phases, just kind of like my splits with working out. I think that's really cool for me because I get to see my body and the way that it adjusts. The challenge for me though is like my dad has type 2 diabetes. You know, I'm pretty sure my mom is pretty much in the same boat, but she doesn't even want to find out. You know, so genetically, I gotta go through a little bit of the hoops of making sure that you know, my blood glucose levels are intact and being taken care of the way that it need to be, because that's another factor, is that a lot of people can do everything right, but if, you know, their blood sugar is out of line, you know, that's also an impact on their weight loss.
Yeah, dude, if your hormones are fucked up, like that's definitely one of those things where it, like, calories in, calories out is still accurate at the end of the day, but like hormonal stuff impacts your like total expenditure so much. Yeah. And so my I call him my dad, but he's my stepdad technically. He just got diagnosed type 2 as well, like within the last week. Yeah. My dad used to have has a pro card.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's like, it's really wild when not a pro card. He was powerlifting professionally and like had a couple like records at one point in time. Yeah. Bodybuilding, he was okay. But it's crazy to me that can happen. And then, you know, you and I both being in the fitness space, how have your parents, or if at all, have your parents came to you and actually asked you fitness advice?
Yeah, they have, but they don't like to hear my advice because, you know, I'm going to tell them I'm going to be a very black and white, you know, son to them. And I'm just going to tell them what works and what doesn't, you know, and, being a vegetarian like my mom is, I mean, she's a full-on vegetarian. You know, she even touches eggs. She's got to wash her hands 10 times because.
Really, man.
Yeah.
So, what meat does she eat, if any?
None.
So is it just like dairy? That's the only like animal product she's taking in.
Yeah, she's taking in dairy. You know, mostly from that. A lot of lentils, beans, things of that nature.
Like religious based.
Yeah, okay. I mean, she's very religious. You know, I respect her for it. You know, and my dad does eat a little bit of meat. He eats chicken here and there. He eats a little bit of like pork once in a while, but mostly chicken, eggs. He does eat eggs. Thank goodness. But yeah, man, it's a challenge coming from an Indian family because, you know, they don't understand it.
Yeah.
You know, they don't understand that your body needs protein to rebuild, to restructure, to recover, to hold on and not deteriorate. And I think they understand that that's what they need to, but, you know, you get to a point in your life, you're like... You
get a lot of cognitive dissonance where you're like, yeah, I can figure out a different way.
I've been on this earth longer than you. I know what I'm doing.
No, dude, it's hard to train. So, Glenn, here's another timestamp. I've actually have a video on how to get friends and family to exercise that I shot like fucking 4 years ago. I don't know if it's any good, so I'll probably watch it. If I don't link it, guys, it's because it's not a good video anymore. But yeah, like I remember that being like such a thing for me because I got my mom to start exercising, which is funny because she's actually kind of why I started exercising when I was younger.
That's amazing.
And I mean, she like at one point like just started finally like listening, but I mean I was training her for like 6 months and just push back on everything, and I'm like, fucking hell, like what are you paying me for? Because yes, everybody, I charge my mom, but
accountability. Yeah.
That's right. Hey man, when I was doing it for free, she wasn't doing shit, and then I started charging her, and she started coming to the gym, and then I raised my rates again, and she started really doing everything because, like you said at the beginning, people care about their money.
People care about their money, man.
You've actually stayed in India for a while, correct?
Yeah. I was born in India, and I've gone back, stayed there for a while, even through the gruesome heats of India, man.
What's the processed food like in India versus like the States?
So much less.
Really?
So much less. I mean, you want chicken. I mean, you can pick your chicken. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool, man.
I mean,
that's pretty fucking cool.
It is. It is
like, I want that one. Fuck that one.
Yeah. I mean, and I got to do that a couple times. But yeah, a lot of the stuff, man, that we do here in America, it's crazy because we are so about preservatives. We are so about putting in fillers and making sure that the shelf life is as long as it possibly can. And you know, you won't even see a lot of like frozen foods there at all whatsoever. You know, a lot of it is fresh, you know, And
are people like generally like leaner and stuff in India as well?
I think they're a little bit more leaner than anything.
Than like standard American look, I suppose, yeah.
Longevity wise, health wise, I think I'm pretty sure that their blood panels are a little bit better than ours sometimes, just because they're getting in all sorts of different greens and fruits and a lot of different varieties, and it's all fresh.
It seems like without fail the thing that ends up causing the thing that almost always is like what causes obesity in different countries is because the standard American diet, shitloads of preservatives, tons of shelved and boxed up food ends up making it into that country. And like Americans have been eating this way for like 100, maybe not quite 100 years, but I mean, we kind of were like the guinea pigs for preservatives and a lot of shitty food and stuff like that. So it's like a lot of us have kind of like adapted to it and found ways to not like become obese with it. There's still a lot of us, but it's like when it starts getting like when it first finds its way into different countries, they fucking balloon up like 100%. Crazy, dude. Like like the thing that I've told so many clients through the years is like, dude, like if you want to lose weight, it's really not hard. Don't eat anything in a box. Don't eat anything that an 8-year-old can't explain what it is.
Exactly.
You're good. I mean, dude, like slide over a freaking like a box of like, like some like Hostess product or something like that. And if an 8-year-old can't explain every single one of those ingredients, don't eat it
or pronounce it.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not hard, and there's definitely like without fail, there's gonna be someone hearing this who's like, okay, so fuck Andrew because it's very hard for me to lose weight. But like, still, there is like at the end of the day, that is the secret. Like, eat real food, and you're gonna lose weight 99% of the time.
Absolutely. You take away a lot of those chemicals and those preservatives, you're not even going to just lose weight, man. You're going to feel better.
You're going to feel so much better. And then, like, it's also just, like, the hyper-palatability of processed food, too. I mean, like,
absolutely.
I can eat a bag of potato chips in one sitting. I can't eat 4 raw potatoes in one sitting.
No, you can't.
And that's about the same.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's what's crazy is, and don't get me wrong, like, I enjoy, eating a bag of candy once in a while, right? Or a bag of chips, or man, I'm a sucker for cookies, and donuts.
Dude. Baked goods, game over for me, man.
Absolutely.
They're so good, but they kill my body.
The worst thing that could happen to Reno is the fact that we have a crumble cookies here.
Dude, I haven't gone. I won't go because I'm like, freaking Hunter gets all these like huge cookies from like.
He's the worst.
And he looks so good. He's just massive, but like he's talked about his PED use and stuff like that. So I mean, like his intake, he kind of has to eat some of that stuff.
Absolutely.
At some point, 'cause he's got so much food that he's eating.
But even still, I mean, let him be the example that you can still have your cookies.
Yeah.
And still. Yeah. Train good, live good,
dude,
feel good.
Lane Norton was like the first person to like really expose me to that back in the day, where he was really pushing if it fits your macros, and he's like talking about like eating a bag of Skittles and like like just eating like all this crazy shit, and I'm like how does this guy have world records and he's shredded and he's eating candy? I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like it just like my brain couldn't comprehend it. And then our body's not a perfect math equation, but like pretty damn close.
Absolutely.
Like, it works pretty close. The one thing that's I don't know the exact number. I used to know this, but like boxes are allowed to be, I think it's like 10 or 20% off on their calorie intake. It's like yeah, that's one of the other reasons that a lot of people end up gaining, because it's like, hey, you might be eating 20% more than you think.
And people usually are.
Yeah.
People usually are. I have clients that eyeball a lot of stuff, and I'm like, hey, look, at the end of the day, a tablespoon of peanut butter may look like one thing, but a totally different thing to another person.
It's like a funny way to do that, because gas is so expensive now. Would just be like, bring a.
Don't talk to me about gas right now.
Oh, yeah, because you work there. But like having a freaking like bucket or something like that, fill it with a little bit of gas and be like, okay, is this a gallon or not? And people are gonna be like, can we measure it out exactly? Because I want to. It's like, okay, well, if you care about this, if you realize you can't measure this out visually, you can't measure out your food either visually. Like,
absolutely.
I like to have people for a period like track all their calories, just because you at least get that base understanding.
Absolutely.
Like.
And that's a good way to start.
Yeah. Like nobody realizes how much is like actually in food until you like really see it and weigh it out and track it for a while, and then you start to like develop this intuitive feel for food and stuff. But Yeah, man. I had a client this week actually, and he goes, yeah, I thought I was getting enough protein, and Alejandro, if you listen to this, I'm talking about you. But he goes, I thought I was getting enough protein, and I think he was like 40 grams under or something like that. I'm like, that's a lot to be under. Like that's the difference between building muscle and losing.
100%. 100%.
But, how did you? So you eventually made that jump from working in like the corporate space where you were managing that gym, trying to make some changes and stuff. Were they just not receptive to those changes?
For me, I lost the kind of like what you said in the beginning, the passion when it came to what I was out there to do. That was for me is to change lives, and I was making this company so much money. I mean, disgustingly amount of money, because I'm good at sales. Yeah. I like sales,
I do too. And I think it's fun.
I think it's fun. I think it's a good way. I don't even like to be called a salesman. Yeah. Like for me, I just like to make connections to people. I have a service that I feel like can benefit a person, and I try to make that bridge happen for them to understand that this is something that's beneficial to them. And for me, that doesn't feel like a sale. That's just me trying to help somebody.
Yeah, trying to get people what they're looking for.
Absolutely. But when you start seeing the corporate side of things, and you start seeing, all right, where are your ends going with this whole situation, and for me, after I left that gym, I decided I'm never going to work for someone else ever again. Mm-hmm. I've made that promise to myself that I'm never going to want to work for someone else again because of the fact that I knew that in my abilities and what I'm, what I bring to the table, I can totally venture out and be whatever I want to be in my own airspace, the CEO of my own career, and seeing how much, whether it was just the dollar factor or, changing lives and getting people's results. I knew for a fact that, one day, whether it be tomorrow or 2 years or 10 years from now, that I could do exactly what I'm doing here, but still make sure that I feel like I'm being valued enough, and that's where the value wasn't being, I guess, appreciated. And that's where I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go into a little bit of a different step and kind of go into a little bit of the family business and purchase my own and see where that takes me.
Yeah. So you stepped out of it. You started running your own business for a little while, and then at some point you started working out here at Stimulus. What was it that kind of like flipped that for you, that you were like, I think I want to maybe train one or two clients? And because you've kind of slowly been like, I don't know what your like total client load looks like right now, but I mean, you've been slowly gathering a handful more clients and stuff like that. What ended up flipping that switch for you from just working out to getting back into it? And ultimately being back into it on your own.
Yeah, so when I came here, I started doing, a little bit of a show prep for myself.
And did you actually compete?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I was like, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I didn't end up competing, but I kind of went through the process. Just because on my own, I wanted to speak that language, especially for clients that are wanting to compete and wanting to be on that stage, and. I wanted that feeling of, all right, what is that? And I think that's what I enjoy most about having my own transformation is I get to speak that language to that client, being there in that position. A lot of trainers come in and, you look at Hunter, and who's probably been in shape his whole life, asshole.
I would agree with that. Yeah, fuck you, Hunter.
He's still going to provide a great value to people that are wanting to do exactly what he does. For me personally, I get to speak a language where, some of my clients are coming in type 2 diabetic, or they're coming in overweight, they're not sleeping well, and I get to kind of relate to that person. Yeah. And I think that's where that connection is starting to be made. So when I came here, I was starting to train, I started working out, and, I had a group of ladies that wanted to start training with me. And I'm like, man, do I want to do this again?
Yeah.
Do I want to go back into this realm? But I think what really hit me was that the fact that I get to, again, be that CEO of my own career. And for me, I get to do it personally. I don't have to do this in a more of a one-size-fits-all aspect anymore. I get to actually take upon the challenge of learning different types of bodies on a more individualized level. And that's where I was like, all right, you know what? I have a great business. I have a great staff. I have great guys running my station. Let's see how this goes. Let's see where this takes me. And but no way did I think that I was going to have the 17 clients that I have now, the 8 to 9 in-person people that I see now. No way did I think that that's what I was going to ever become. Yeah. I thought, okay, I'm going to have a few clients here and there, and then it's going to end, and I'm going to be okay with that because I got to itch my,
Yeah, you get to scratch that itch.
I get to scratch that itch and be okay with that. But it's amazing what happens, especially with the value of social media, but more so the word of mouth is when you provide value to people's lives, that thing spreads like wildfire.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's exactly what it did for me. I'm sure you see, like, I'm not huge on promoting myself to a point where I'm beating the dead horse. Yep. I put a little content out there, highlight some of my clients and their work and their progress, and I just kind of let the results speak for themselves.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened, and how that's still continuing to be to this day. Very, very valuable, very, very appreciative of my clients right now, because very different types of people. It's amazing how many different types of people you meet in this space as a trainer, because you get to see people coming from all aspects of life, and to have a little bit of value to their life and a little bit of connection to their changes that they want to see. That's why we do it, man. I mean, that's why I do it, at least, is, again, the dollar is what keeps them accountable. The dollar is what keeps them coming back because it's important to them. But the end space, and to see that final product, and if you do that with value and major engagement, they will always continue to come back.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's been the most beautiful thing about this process, is to come back on a more individualized leadership fellow.
Is there a specific, like, sticking point that you've seen with, I don't want to say all of your clients, but, like, I guess, is there, like, a consistent thing that you see happen where it's like, fuck, clients always get stuck right here?
Yeah, I think when they start seeing, those double-digit drops, they start seeing, I think it comes in seasons, right? You have the winter seasons that are like, okay, I'm going to wear my sweatshirt. I'm going to wear my sweatpants. I'm going to do everything right now because no one's going out. And then as you get closer to summer, they want to go have some fun and some play. And, and then the holidays come up. I think that's a really tricky thing because, family time is family time, and that's some of the challenges that people have to go through, is making those sacrifices.
Yeah.
And I understand it. The cool thing about, if you're a good personal trainer and you're not doing a show competition or anything that's superly, like, time-based, you can figure out a way for your clients to enjoy the times with their families.
Yep.
And I think that's what the biggest things that people have to understand is that there is so many bigger things. You're not here because you ate an extra piece of broccoli.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're not here because you had an extra bite of chicken. You're here because you have been doing something for the longest time that's been having such a negative impact on a daily basis. And what the biggest things that people need to understand that is, when you hire a trainer or you get a coach or you get a new diet, you've taken maybe 5-6 years of bad habits, but then people come up and say, why am I not seeing results after 3 months, 4 months? It's like, man, how do you undo 5 years in 3 months? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Right? So that's what people have to understand, that it's a longevity game. It's a patience game. And you have to make sure that you understand that from the get-go.
Breaking up those years and years of habits, man, like, it's huge. And then, the thing is too, this is kind of that, like, negotiating with success thing again, where, you can find any reason throughout the entire year. You can find a reason to not eat right and exercise. Like, you can be like, oh, it's January. Well, gyms are really packed right now, so I don't want to go in. February, ah, man, we're hitting those like final winter storms, so I don't really want to. And like March comes, oh, like I still got a few months left until summer. Then April hits, and it's like whatever reason. And then summer, oh, I'm gonna be out with my friends. We're gonna be drinking all the time. And then the holidays, and it's like, oh, I'm spending time. It's like you can find any reason during any point through the entire year and find a reason to not do it. And it's like so many people. It's literally just making that decision of just, hey, I'm not going to, eat that way anymore. I'm going to make these changes. I mean,
Absolutely.
I remember this is actually like a really big point of contention from my mom and I at one point in time where because you said something that I love, by the way, is that you are able to you physically had the experience that a lot of your clients go through.
Yeah.
I was never overweight. I was always super, super underweight. So my way to kind of relate to people is I do any diet or routine or whatever it may be before I have a client do it. That way I at least understand what they're going to be going through. And when I was writing this elimination diet, it's 30 days of cutting foods out and then a slow period of reintroducing all these foods back in. And during that 30-day period was Thanksgiving. Yeah. And my mom was so mad that I wouldn't eat that way. And I was like, well, it's going to happen when I have a client that I'm telling to eat this way through Thanksgiving. And she's like, oh, well, they have these goals. And I'm like, no, I have to be able to say, like, I've done this before. Like, it's one day. You're going to be all right. Like, Thanksgiving will be back next year, And, like, it's, there are times where sometimes people just got to, like, buckle down and be like, all right, like, I'm not going to do that this year or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good, which is fun. Is as long as you have a good relationship with what you're doing and what you're after, and you're not taking it to an end all be all kind of situation, then definitely, man, definitely have that willpower and to challenge yourself. It
comes with the caveat of obviously it depends on the individual. Like someone who's like eating good 90% of the time, I'm not going to be like, hey, your Thanksgiving, fuck that.
Yeah,
but it's like
you and getting that.
Yeah. But if it's like someone where they've always got a new reason why they can't do something, I'd be like, hey, what if we really challenge you? And just there are some people where developing that willpower and like really pushing out of that comfort zone of, oh man, well, I always do this. Like it's like, okay, well, you've always done this and here you are. So when are you going to be ready to make that change?
Exactly. What are you here for? Yep. If we want to continue doing everything that you've always done, then why expect anything different than what you've been getting?
Yeah. Was there any like phases of lifting that you went through that you're like, God, I fucking wish I didn't do that? Oh, dude, the smile says it all. What was it?
I think personally, there weren't really like phases of lifting. I think it was like phases of dieting that I was like, oh man, this isn't healthy. And that kind of goes back to the days that I was at the other gym and even during my show prep, there's good coaches out there, there's bad coaches out there. And, I think when, and I have a lot of respect for competitors. I have a lot of respect for people that step on that stage and go through that show prep, as long as it's done correctly, and I think when it comes to what sets apart a good coach and a bad coach is, how do they really take upon your best interest in that, So yeah, there were some times where I was like, I don't want to do this because, I know what it's doing to me and I know what it's doing to my body and all that. But I always like to give the benefit of the doubt and give it my all, But I've had good preps, I've had bad preps, and you live and you learn, and you kind of understand that. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, I was talking about that with Hunter, where it's like, everybody has like one or two things where like, fuck, I wish I didn't do that. And it's weird because if you didn't go through it, if you didn't go through that period that you wish you didn't go through, you would have never learned the reason that you're like, man, I wish I didn't do that. Yeah. So it's like kind of a double-edged sword. If it's like, it sucks to go through it, but you have to go through it. Otherwise, you'll end up doing it eventually. Everybody goes through that phase where they're taking a shitload of supplements or starving themselves or dirty bulking. I mean, dude, my dirty bulk. Have you ever dirty bulked?
Oh, yeah.
Fucking worst, man.
It is.
Holy shit, man. Like, I was eating, I've told this story a few times, I'm sure, but I mean, I was just like bombing Taco Bell and fucking Little Caesars Taco Bell and Little Caesars almost every day of the week.
Yeah.
And that was the heaviest I ever got. I was 216 or 217, and I was fucking fat, man. I had like no muscle on me because I was getting like no protein through the entire thing. But it's like, you know, I kept seeing the scale go up, and I was one of those people. I'm 6'3". I graduated high school at 140 pounds. So I'm like convinced. I'm like, hell yeah, scale's going up. Like this is a great bulk. And it's like I cut down, and I'm like, I have less muscle than I did before, and it took me 6 months to cut like the, you know, 30 something pounds that I ended up gaining. And I'm like, this was not worth it. What the fuck?
Not all calories are created equal.
God no, dude. It's like ugh, man. It's so fucking wild. Well, anyway, man. I'm trying to. Was there like anything specific that you really wanted to cover, by the way? Because I'm trying to think. I feel like we kind of covered everything, but yeah.
I thought we did great. I think.
I'll vibe this. This is fun. We haven't actually like talked. So for everybody, like this has always been like kind of like an in passing relationship. You know, like we'll see each other for like an hour or so at the gym, like shoot the shit and stuff. This is the longest conversation we've ever actually had.
No, I think this was very informative, and I think this was a great experience too. I mean, thank you guys for having me too.
You. Like, I'm really glad you came on. This was fun.
This was a lot of fun. You know, I was like, all right, how's this gonna go?
It's always a little awkward the first, like, you know, freaking lights go down, lights come up, mic goes in front of you, and it's like fuck. Like sometimes you're a supernatural talker, and that's probably a lot of it's probably because of you being in sales for so long that you got to be able to converse. And like seriously, dude, at some point in time, I feel like everybody needs to have a sales job. Because it just makes you, I don't want to say it makes you a better human, but it kind of does. Like, you get better at interacting with people.
Work in food service, too.
Oh, yeah, dude. Work in food service, work in a retail store at some point. Like,
anything you have to do with people.
Yeah.
Because it's a gruesome world out there, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you end up finding out how shitty people can be, and honestly, like, how cool some people can be, too.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. Well, any closing remarks, any closing thoughts, any last little thing you're like, oh, we got to talk about this, by the way. Wait, are there more doors or wheels in the world?
Ooh. Are there more doors or wheels in the world?
Yes.
I would hope that there are more doors.
Hell yeah, door gang! Y'all heard it here, we're 2 for 2. Technically 4 for 4, because me and Glenn agree.
Hell yeah.
You, me, Hunter, Glenn. Door gang.
Door gang.
Alrighty. Well, if anybody wants to find you, where do they find you? What's your if you have a website, any of that stuff?
Instagram is a great way. Life as Anish.
L-Y-F-E.
Or I'm sorry, Life by Anish.
Oh, is it life.by.anish or no?
It's actually just LYFE. It's something I created for my coaching. LYFE meaning live your fullest every day.
Ooh, I like that. That's cool. Fuck, man, I wish I was creative.
Took me a while, man. No, it's just something that I like to attain and have a grasp over, not even just for myself, but for my clients, you know. And so yeah, life as a niche, LYFE as a niche.
Wait, life as or life by?
Life as a niche.
Okay, and life as a niche.
Yes, life as a niche. Yeah, I had to double check. I'm like, man, what is it? And you know, that's the main way. You can find me on there. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. But
well, boom, there we go, everybody.
Yeah, buddy.
If y'all dug this, go and reach out to Anish. Say hey. Tell him you like the podcast. At Life as Anish, LYFE. And until next time, guys. My name's Andrew with Pride. See y'all later.